Hey guys, Steinixos here. So recently I've been thinking about Mihawk quite a bit. You see, from his introduction, after gracefully deflecting the trajectory of the bullets that were fired at him, he emphasized to us that you can't really call yourself a swordsman without such grace. You see, to him, a man recognized as the strongest swordsman in the One Piece world, a sword without subtlety is not a sword at all, but rather it is just an iron bar. And yet again, in one of the most recent chapters, it is highlighted to us that Mihawk is superior to Shanks, an Emperor of the Sea, in terms of swordsmanship skills. Now obviously, with this level of praise, which seems to be recognized throughout the entire One Piece world, given that everyone seems to accept this man Dracule Mihawk as the strongest swordsman in the world, and he himself is confident that he can continue to stand at the top no matter how many years it takes until Zoro is able to defeat him. And this obviously begs the question, like, how skilled of a swordsman is Dracule Mihawk actually? Like, what heaven-defying techniques should we expect from the strongest swordsman in the One Piece world in his inevitable fight against Roronoa Zoro? Well, to answer this question, I feel like we should discuss a more fundamental question, and that is, what are the metrics by which we should define a swordsman's skill? So in this video, that is what we'll be discussing. We won't be discussing attack potency, or who can slice the biggest structures, or who can swing their swords the fastest, but rather we'll be discussing tangible techniques from anime and manga as a whole that hopefully will shed light on just how high of a level the skill of a swordsman can go. Now right off the bat, an obviously integral part of being a swordsman is being able to use a sword. I mean, it is literally in the name. But when we get into a discussion of skill, then the number of different sword styles you are able to use is obviously something that should be considered. And the archetypical person who demonstrates this form of swordsmanship skill is Zoro. You see, we know that Zoro's main fighting style is through the utilization of 3 swords, but you'll note that Zoro is also quite proficient in other swordsmanship styles, such as in the 2-sword style, as demonstrated with techniques such as Nitoryu Yai, Rashomon, as well as with the 1-sword style, such as seen with techniques such as Itoryu Ai, Shishi Son Son. However, just being able to use techniques of a different number of swords obviously isn't the end-all be-all of skill. I mean, Hachi the Octopus Fishman, for example, was using 6 swords, each of which weighed over 300 kilograms, and yet Zoro was still able to shatter them all with 2 makeshift blades and 1 good katana. So this brings up yet another crucial point. To be a truly skilled swordsman, you must be able to use blades of different qualities. This was demonstrated beautifully, for example, when Mihawk, while using a mere toy-like blade, was able to completely beat Zoro, who was using 3 full-length katanas. And remember, Mihawk's level of skill extends so high that he wanted to use an even smaller blade, but that was merely the smallest blade he had on him at the time. But note, given that we're chasing the apex of skill, you should know that a truly skilled swordsman should be able to demonstrate their swordsmanship prowess even with instruments that are not blades themselves, but rather are blade-like. An amazing showing of this is Atomic Samurai from One Punch Man, who is able to use a mere toothpick to cleanly slice up some monsters, as well as Meliodas from 7 Deadly Sins, who is able to use a random stick as a medium to slice a mountain in 2. But it doesn't even stop there, because there is an even higher level where a truly skilled swordsman does not need a blade, nor do they even need a blade-like object to demonstrate their swordsmanship prowess. This is for example seen with Zoro's no sword style, where with just his bare hands and the movement of his body, he's able to carry out Dragon Twister, a technique which usually requires 3 swords. But you see, the ceiling of skill of a swordsman goes even higher, because as demonstrated by Feng Yuan and Zhao Zheng from grinding inside a mirror, a swordsman at the apex of skill is able to infuse their sword intent into the very air itself and this air serves as the blade to carry out their sword attacks, without the swordsman themselves even having to move a finger at all. So I do wonder if Mihawk will ever show us anything to this degree, or even surpassing this level of skill as it relates to weapons. I mean, maybe when revealed, the intricacies involved in the creation of a black blade might open the door to a discourse of a level of skill that we cannot yet even fathom. I mean, remember, the only other person known to create a black blade, Ryuma, was literally called the Sword God, and is spoken of in the same breath as Joy Boy, the presumed last awakened user of the Sun God Nika Devil Fruit. So there may be something really interesting there as it relates to black blades. However, we'll just have to wait and see. Now again, another obviously integral part of being a swordsman is being able to cut things. And I mean, we all love to see big flashy feats, but again, in this context, those are more matters of attack potency. And though that's cool and all, remember, what we want to focus on in this video is skill. So therefore, try to remember what Zoro said before he finished Pika off. And that's right, he said, "Over the 9 mountains and 8 seas, and there is nothing I cannot cut." And this phrase of there be no limit to what can be cut is actually pretty common amongst high-level swordsmen. But what does it actually mean when we're looking at it through a lens of skill? Well, it means that a truly skilled swordsman should be able to cut things that traditionally are not able to be cut. So at the lower level, we see this for example with the Foxfire style, which allows a swordsman like Zoro and Kinemon to be able to even cut fire itself. And at more higher levels of skill, we see where a swordsman like Yami from Black Clover is so skilled that he's even able to cut fundamental parts of existence like space itself. So without fail, when a swordsman says there's nothing that they cannot cut, there's actually a wide area of skill to be explored. And for Mihawk, the swordsman standing at the pinnacle of skill in the One Piece world, I would expect that he would need to show us something at the higher levels. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see him doing something like cutting time itself. But again, we can only wait and see. However, at the pinnacle of skill, being able to cut everything is only half of the equation. You see, a truly skilled swordsman must not only be able to cut everything, but they must also be able to cut nothing. Or put more precisely, they should be able to choose what they want to cut. Now, all skilled swordsmen in the One Piece world are able to achieve this with Haki. So as Hyogoro explains, through the use of Haki, the same blade that can be used to cut steel, if a swordsman chooses, this same blade will not even be able to cut a sheet of paper. What the blade is able to cut is all according to the swordsman's will. But at an even higher level application of this skill of choosing what you cut is illustrated by Yato from Noragami with his blade Yukine, which will literally go through an object or person that is not the target, leaving them unscathed and only cutting the intended target of the attack. Asta from Black Clover is also able to achieve this skill with his Demon Slasher sword while in Devil Union mode. So to be a truly skilled swordsman, one must have both halves of this equation. Now, as we already alluded to at the start of this video, Mihawk mentioned that a blade must have a certain subtlety or grace to it. And he demonstrated this with a gentle redirection of the bullets that were fired at him in such a precise manner that Zoro was taken aback by his level of skill. Now yes, this emphasizes the concept of swordsmanship skill as a whole, but when scrutinized at a more fundamental level, it shows us that a truly skilled swordsman must be able to move their blades with a certain level of precision that approaches art itself. Now, this usually takes the form of something like, rather than splitting a meter in two with a big slash, you instead cut it into pieces. Or, as with Oden, who was able to cleanly slice through a mountain-sized boar, splitting it in two, and as Oda explained, this cut was so clean that the mountain boar was able to be sewn back together. Or, as seen with Atomic Samurai from One Punch Man, who was able to slice black sperm into multiple paper-thin-like segments without splitting him completely. But frankly, at the highest level of precision, you have characters like Yonsei descend from cultivator against hero society who are so skilled that while on the surface of the moon, thousands of kilometers away from the earth, with a single slash, he's able to target all mosquitoes on the earth, cutting them all down individually to a subatomic level, causing mosquitoes as a species to go extinct without a trace. Now frankly, it is very unlikely that Mihawk will ever achieve anything even close to Yunsen's level of skill. However, I think it is very important to know how high the level of skill goes for swordsmen as a whole to truly appreciate and understand what to expect from Mihawk as the strongest swordsman in the One Piece world when we finally get that hopefully glorious battle between him and Zoro. But anyway, that's the video guys. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video. But anyway, see you guys next time.